Hi everyone, it's Brittany with Green Bee Floral. Now today's video, I wanted to take you along, so we actually have two weddings this weekend. I wanted to take you along and show you how I put together one of our wedding bouquet styles. So this is a very airy, very garden inspired bouquet. It's an a la carte bouquet, which basically means that we do the boutonniere and bouquet kind of as a set like combo for the store, and they basically get like the groom's boutonniere and the bride's bouquet, and then it's, you know, a set price for both of those. It's very popular for town hall weddings, things like that, where there's not a huge wedding party. They don't necessarily need to have any of the maids or the groomsmen or like any of the flower girls and superfluous kind of flowers that you need for that. So I did want to kind of take you along because I don't think I've done a lot with like how we do more ornate bouquets. We do a lot of wedding work here out of the store. It's actually probably makes up about 30% of our sales throughout the year, and we've never actually talked about how I go through and create the wedding bouquets before, so we're going to do that today. Green Bee Floral Co. is a 2.5-acre cut flower farm and boutique floral shop located in small town Southwestern Ontario, Canada. We began growing flowers in 2019 as a way to find joy and beauty amidst the struggle of raising our medically complex child. In 2023, we opened our dream floral shop in our little hometown, bringing modern floral design, our favorite luxe imported blooms, and seasonal local flowers to our community. Welcome to our little flower-filled world. We're so glad you're here. Now, when I'm creating basically any sort of bridal consultation, we always go through and get kind of a general vibe of what the couple is looking for. We always make sure to go through and figure out what the vision is. With something like an elopement or an a la carte wedding, they don't get to pick necessarily all of the individual flowers that are going into the bouquets. We work primarily in color palettes because it makes it easier on ordering the stock that we need for the cooler as well, because basically the goal with these is to be working with what we have in store. Now, the fun part about this particular one is that we did actually focus in on a few specific blooms because culturally they have significance to the groom and the bride. So we are definitely using some orchids, and we are using tulips as well because they're significant to the cultures, which I think is really cool. So when we go through and we talk with our couples, normally what I'll do is create a whole big mood board. This is a document that I've put together. We use Canva, which is a great online like Photoshop-y type resource that's very easy, user-friendly to use, but essentially we will drop photos basically that we talked about during the consultation into this. For an a la carte wedding, it's a little bit different, so we're just looking for like a couple really basic inspiration photos that I can just kind of work off to make sure that we get the vibe right. This right here is, we love Pinterest, is the inspiration photo for what we are working on today. Now, of course, because we are also paying attention to seasonality, we don't have things like peonies or dahlias or clematis or alliums or any of these sort of things with us in the store right now, but we're able to kind of use this for a shape inspiration. So we do know for a fact that this bride really loves pinks, and we wanted to bring in as much bright pink as we possibly could. So we looked very specifically at bringing in a nice, you know, pink orchid. I believe these orchids actually come from an Ontario greenhouse, which is pretty cool. We have some beautiful peachy stock that we're going to be using, as well as a little bit of the lavender stock, just to give it that like little bit of je ne sais quoi, right? That you get this little bit of whimsy that you have in the book. And because we're also going to be focusing on the purple tulips, because the bride loves the pink and the purple, instead of bringing in something like white, we have just a plain single white tulip here, and as well some of those doubles that we showed you in the last video for Valentine's Day. I'm going to incorporate a couple of those into the bouquet as well. We also have beautiful ranunculus, so specifically wanted to look at like those pink ranunculus. This is one of our focals. These have pretty sturdy stems, so I don't actually think I'm going to need to wire these, which is really nice. It's going to save us a whole step. Hot pink spray roses to provide some of that depth, and as well we are using a garden rose called Pink Expression, which looks just like this. It's a beautiful, beautiful garden rose with lots of depth to it, and it opens up really beautifully. It has a lot of like ruffles on the inside there as well. It is one of my favorite pink roses to use for wedding work that they're looking for some additional color. I also have a nice stem of butterfly ranunculus here that we're going to be incorporating, and a couple of the Bianco Nero anemones. So this is going to make up the bulk of our recipe. I may add some little bits in, but you can see by the photo too, like there's no greenery in this. We're not actually looking to like incorporate any sort of greens. So that means we are just creating this shape and this bouquet today with floral only. So let's get to it. We'll kind of go step by step. I'll show you what I'm doing, how we create some of the depth into the bouquet. So hopefully you can maybe potentially do some of this at home as well. So first things first, when we are designing, we always want to make sure that we are keeping our inspiration photo close. It doesn't really matter how you start a wedding bouquet. I tend to like to start kind of like deeper into the bouquet and kind of build my way out, but you have to know what you're making. So it's really important that we keep this handy, and this is very much what we're going to work off of. I've got the second one handy here, just because they really like that kind of like heart shape that's a part of this. We are going to build something very modern looking, very garden inspired today with absolutely no greenery in it at all. So in a wedding bouquet, normally I will start with like 2 of my focal roses, just to kind of start getting the feel for what I'm doing, and then normally a spike. I very much design facing like towards me, so I'll often design so that I can kind of see the bouquet just like this, paying really close attention kind of to, you know, how these other pieces are gonna sit. It's okay when you're building a wedding bouquet like this to have your stems come down a little bit further. Normally when we're building hand ties, we actually kind of create like the waist of the bouquet much lower on the stem. But when we are doing something like a wedding bouquet, because we are gonna be cutting those stems nice and short, I will work much closer up. It allows you to hold the flowers like a lot looser, which is great when you're designing. And it also gives the flowers a little bit more room to breathe. So like I'm not going to be doing a ton of heavy reflexing with these roses because they will open up on their own. You can always blow on them if you want to get them to like open up a bit, or kind of manipulate the sides open with your fingers a bit more. And the reason I'm not manipulating them is because there's not a lot of like reflexed rose petals in this particular bouquet here. So you can kind of see, I really like to work to create those layers right away. And then we'll go through and add some of our pieces of whimsy. Now I am gonna bring in some of these kind of darker carnations here into the kind of base. It's gonna provide a little bit of depth. If you are one of those, if you haven't used carnations before, there's 2 things you can do with carns. You can rip out the center to like make them look like a lisianthus, which really gives them a much more kind of like luxe look. Or if you find that they're still quite closed, a great trick is to just pinch on the bottom of the carnation there, and you can actually peel that center back, which will help it open up a lot more. And I actually want to leave these because I want that hot pink that's kind of in the center of that carnation. The nice thing too about bouquets like this is that they tend to be very forgiving. When I am building them, having lots of depth to that really allows kind of your base florals to shine, and then your darker florals kind of inside a little bit is what's going to allow those other like pieces, like those pieces of whimsy, those ranunculus, some of those lighter blooms to just really stand out. I mean, I've probably made like at least 100 wedding bouquets since I've started doing this. So I have a system that I kind of, you know, stick with. I'm also not scared to like cut things down. So like, I don't want the top of this on my orchid. I know. So I cut it off. And now I have a piece that looks a little bit more like the sweet peas in the photo. And this bouquet smells so good because of the stalk in it. The other thing to bear in mind when you are doing wedding flowers is to not be afraid to like snip out the pieces on the flowers that don't work. You don't have to keep every single bud on the bouquet. It's not an everyday floral bouquet, right? Like you want to kind of edit those flowers down to do like what you want them to do. We can manipulate them kind of into the place you want them, because they have to serve your purpose, not the other way around. I find sometimes it can be really easy to like feel really guilty to like manipulate some of, or like edit some of those like, you know, stem pieces from an orchid out, because you spend all of this money, you know, on these flowers. You want to use every last bit, but I think part of what makes good florists is that they're able to figure out where to take some of that extra bulk out of their wedding bouquets. And then that's what'll give that bouquet kind of the look that you want it. And like this has no greenery in it, right? So this is already starting to look really, really luxe. And I'm doing a bit of an ombre feel too, where we got more purple on this side and then more of the pink on this side, which wasn't specifically in the inspiration photo. It just will look really nice when we ribbon this up a little bit later. Now I will probably be using about 7 of the garden roses for this. You know, and then just like every other bouquet that I make, we always want to follow in our groups of 3, making sure that you're using odd numbers of flowers and things so that it looks balanced inside of the bouquet. Feels really weird playing with all these spring flowers when it is like very much snowing outside again. There's a lot of snow happening, which, you know, it's been a long kind of like, it's been a normal winter for us this year. Like, look at how that's coming so far. If you're finding too that the stems are getting, you know, a little out there, just trim stuff down so it's a little bit more manageable. A little bit more manageable. It's spring. Flowers for us have been slower this year, mostly just because it's been such a long winter this year. Last year, I don't think it was quite so, like it wasn't this, we didn't have this much snow for starters, but also wasn't this cold. And this year, it has just been so cold this year that it's, you know, we don't have our greenhouse like completely like fully heated and insulated and all the things, and so I definitely have been finding it's more like work and upkeep this year to get the greenhouse. And like last year we were planting ranunculus already like mid to end of February, and we can't even get in to do that yet, which is quite frustrating. So I have like a lot of stuff that's just chilling right now, waiting for its time to shine. Probably move around on you as you're designing, and that's okay. We just pop it back into place. So part of what gives bouquets that like very heart-shaped look is having lots of deep flowers kind of in the center there. You're holding your bouquets very lightly, very gently, and not super tight. And that's what's gonna kind of help that stay in place. You want your flowers to have some movement to them, right? You want to be able want them to dance a little bit as they're going around, and that's what part of those little parts of like whimsy are for. So like for this, I'm not actually going to cut all of this extra foliage off the top of the butterfly ranunculus because I very, very much want it to dance. When you hold your flowers nice and loose, it also allows you to go in and stick things in through the top, kind of weave them in and then pull them out at the bottom. Adds that just a little bit more, something pretty. Twist it to come out, but what I'm actually going to do is snip this top bit off. So I like where it is, but I didn't like all of the extra for it. Tulip is hanging in the wrong direction, so we're just going to spin it, tighten it up in there. And I have a couple of these antique pink carnations as well. Kind of bring out some of the beauty of that stalk. So this is the point where it starts to hurt because flowers, wedding bouquets get heavy. Go ahead and band this. I may end up adding a few more pieces in, but I always find it helpful to like stop, walk away from the bouquet and come back to see if there's anything that needs some adjustment, any marks that we missed. So for instance, like I already can see that I can't quite see that tulip in there. So I probably will add in another 2 tulip stems, but I really need to band this because it's heavy. Go through actually and tape this until after I'm happy kind of with where everything is. This is also the point where normally I would hold flowers kind of up in the mirror. You guys are going to be my mirror so that I can can kind of see here if I'm happy with the placements of everything. Stuff needs to shimmy a bit. Like for instance, I think it needs to migrate a little bit around. Very heavy on the hot pinks here, so I may end up moving one of those kind of over there. Sometimes it's literally just a matter of like shoving a flower deeper in the bouquet. I do actually think I'm gonna pull one out here and move it to the other side. The nice thing too is once you get things banded, you can actually kind of like twist the stems at the bottom and give things some like height one way or the other. I find that that's really helpful once you've got kind of the base of the bouquet all made, but I do think like you can see the balance was slightly off, even though we were going for kind of an ombre look with the purples and things over here. Oh, phone. I do actually want to put this guy over here just for overall balance on the bouquet. So off camera, I did a bit of finagling. So just brought some of the stems up and down a little bit, moved the stalk kind of over so the purple was all kind of on the one side there and the light pinks were over here. So it's really kind of given that nice ombre look. Recut the stems, those tulips that I have down here perking up a little bit because they were out of water for quite a bit. And you can see it's just a really, really nice bouquet for this wedding. Once I have the bouquet done, the next thing I do actually is tape. So I've trimmed the stems all down so they're nice and even. A well-balanced bouquet will always sit for you. Now my stems are a little out to lunch here. Let me give some of those a good, yeah. It should sit flat. To be able to take your hands away, and that is because we've kept, as I was building the bouquet, even though it looked like I was putting stems in every which way, I was actually still keeping my stems circled, right? So you could still got a nice rounded stem here, or like the way the stems go, they're all going in the same direction. That's what I'm trying to say. So that way they're looking really, really nice. Now taping them is important because it actually helps to keep the stems in place so that when the bride is moving around, doing her thing, you don't have the flowers kind of going all over the place. And I always do the tape before I do the ribbon because I'm gonna actually show you a way to do the tape so that it also holds the ribbon, which is pretty cool. For this, you need actually the thick Oasis. So this is the 1/2 inch width Oasis. You're gonna use a fair amount of it. It's always fun to try and find the end the first time. Basically, nice long piece. I don't take it off of the roll until I'm done with it. But basically, I start around from the back, kind of work my way down. I did just cut it off, so ignore what I said earlier. This is going to do two things. One, it's going to hide your elastic bands, and it's going to give you a nice flat surface to attach your ribbon to. Go around and around. Careful not to break any of the stems. And then kind of once you get to that point, what I typically do is just flip it over and give yourself one round to give yourself sticky side out. It should still sit flat for you. These typically come in 3 different colors. This one is the 1.5 to 2 inch width. I think it's like an inch, 1 3/4 inches. 3 colors here. Now this one I'm not going to use, it's too mauve, but these 2 I will use because together they're going to give a really nice texture to the ribbon for the bouquets here. So I'm gonna start just by cutting a nice long piece, length of my arm, a little longer for this one. They don't have to be perfect. You're gonna give them a nice straight cut with your scissors and come back later. And then same thing for this one, second color, a little shorter because you wanna have some depth to that. Now the thing that you wanna make sure you do with the ribbon is it's got to cover your tape, right? So normally what I will do is go through first with one, decide where your front is, and start from that side. So I'm coming in around using that tape that I put in place there to kind of be the holder, and then wrapping it around again, coming to the front. And I'm going to actually do the same thing with this one here, but I'm only going to go around once. I'm going to tuck it underneath a bit. That is what's going to give you that really long piece in the center. I'm going to lay it gently down on the table. Come fold, use the longer piece to make your bow. Make a pretty little bow. And there you go. Gives you beautiful hanging ribbon, and all of your mechanics underneath are covered. The bouquet is beautiful. It's got lots of movement to it. Sometimes I'll just give it a quick one of these on the table, make sure everything is stable, and there we go. There you go. It's the bridal bouquet. So the recipe for this bouquet is on the screen. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you have a great day, and we will catch you in the next video.